what's crazy is I know I'm never going to make another salt fat. Like, there's never going to be another one. And I don't even have a lot of grief about that. Like, that was its own wonderful thing.
Yeah, it took like 19 years.
Yeah, like, there's not going to be another one. You can't manufacture that, and it's fine. I just, yeah, I don't know. Like, I just needed to hear somebody else be like, what you are is enough, and what you'll make will be enough.
This is Talk Easy. I'm Sam Fragoso. Welcome to the show. Today, cook and writer Samin Nosrat. In 2017, she published Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, a book that became a runaway New York Times bestseller, earned the James Beard Award for Best General Cookbook, and ultimately went on to inspire the Emmy-nominated Netflix series of the same name. If you've seen the show, read the book, or even heard her podcast, Home Cooking, what's immediately striking is Samin's enthusiasm. She relishes in sharing what she loves and who she loves with their audience. The baker who wakes up before dawn to make fresh bread. The farmer who travels hours to bring produce to the market. The chef who drives miles and miles and miles to source the highest quality produce for their meals. These are the people and stories that make up much of Samin's work. As for her story, she was raised in San Diego by Iranian immigrants and came of age with an early appreciation for all things food. Her mother often driving more than 80 miles in search of meals that tasted like home. She then went to study English at UC Berkeley, where admittedly she spent more time working in kitchens and studying in classrooms. First at Chez Panisse, bussing tables, later at other local restaurants in Berkeley until about 2009. We talk about each of those eras in today's conversation and how they set the stage for both Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat and her new book. Good Things is a joyous collection of 125 recipes filled with rituals and memories and friends. It's more personal than clinical, though. It reads basically like an invitation to come over, take a seat, and enjoy the food that Samin so clearly takes pleasure in making and also eating. And so today, we begin by tracing the influences, both literary and culinary, that shaped this new book. And we also talk about rediscovering a love of cooking during the pandemic, the joy of making a meal for your loved ones, the remarkable rise of Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, what the bear gets right about cooking, and how Samin tries in her work and in her life to make every second count. This is Samin Nosrat.
Samin.
Sam.
Hi.
My buddy.
We never met before.
No, but we have similar names. Sam is my coffee name.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Because you don't trust that they'll spell Samin right?
That, and also now I just want to attract as little attention to myself.
As little attention as possible. I want to start with a basic question, but I feel like the only one I can start with, having read your book and gone through everything. How are you doing?
Oh, that's really nice. Thanks. I'm okay. It is an interesting thing to have to talk about yourself and what you've done and why. So I worked really hard for the book tour, especially for the book events, to set it up so that I wouldn't have to do that for the in-person events. And I asked basically my friends and people who I admire to sit in conversation with me in the hope that we will have some sort of larger, meaningful conversation that's not just tell me about your chicken recipe.
Well, let's give that a go.
Okay.
I think we can do that. You started working in restaurants back in 1998 at Chez Panisse in Berkeley, California. But even as a sophomore in college, bussing tables, you had already developed a pretty complicated relationship to recipes. You were skeptical of them from moment one. And throughout the years, in every interview, and I do mean in every interview, you would say some variation of the sentence, I am never, ever going to write a cookbook with recipes.
I know. And here I've made a fool of myself. Enter a book of recipes.
for people who aren't watching, we have before us this new cookbook of excellent recipes. It's
Thank you.
called Good Things. So to begin, what changed?
Part of what has been going on for me since the first book, Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, came out is that went on to be such a huge success in every measurable way, beyond what I could have ever imagined. And I'm an ambitious person who hoped and manifested for success. And this was still more than I could have ever dreamt of.
You're someone who, as a teenager, had a manifestation journal.
Oh, I still have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so all of the attention and success knocked me really far off kilter for a variety of reasons. One, I think I've been largely in the background. I've been a largely invisible person in my career world. And so all of a sudden I was very visible and very, for the most part, beloved. And it was like people were just wanting from me, and my nature is I want to give. So I gave everything and more than everything I had. And that left me with very little energy or anything for myself. And then also we live in a world of capitalism, of more of, oh, you have a success, so quickly let's sell the next one. And so I sold a book idea for another Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat style of book that was going to be a philosophical sort of distillation of what it is that cooks in a professional setting take into consideration to decide what to cook and how to translate that for home. But then once I sat down to do it, I realized it would take another 18 years. And I just kind of melted under that thought that it felt so, I was like, this is not what I want to do. And also the success was really lonely. I thought, looking back on some level, I think I believed that achieving all these things would make me feel less lonely and settled and happy in my life. And it wasn't. And I was grappling with that. There was the pandemic. I was actually lonely.
You said in one interview that even if I won a Nobel Peace Prize, it would not be enough for my parents.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been. And I think I've spent my whole life.
Would it have been enough for you?
I don't even know what's enough for me, because I think I've only ever, or at least until that point, I had only ever been navigating the world on some deep, deep level, trying to make them happy.
Your parents?
And, yeah, my parents happy. And that I now see was a fool's errand. And I try to exist outside of that, but it's hard.
I'm laughing in just recognition of my own life.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I was an achievement machine. I am an achievement machine, but I definitely
Was that your nickname in high school?
You know what's crazy? I went to this crazy high school I was middling at best.
You were on the cross country team.
I was on the cross country team, but I was 40th place.
Are there even that many people on the cross country team?
Our team was big. We had 60 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have this success. You make this show for Netflix that's extremely popular. You make a show so popular that Michelle Obama wants you to be part of her cooking TV show for kids.
With puppets.
With puppets, yes. It was lonely and isolating. From there, you start writing how?
I couldn't. I kept, and the other thing about food that's really, this is something I've only realized in the last couple months of doing interviews, is I have been measuring myself and what it is that I do against the broader food media landscape. And you see people, incredibly popular people with beautiful work that they're putting out, whether it's on social media, in publications, online in, I don't know, NewYorkTimes.com, whatever, that everyone wants to cook, and it becomes really popular. And so that, in my mind, as I was writing this book, I thought I was trying to do that. And it was only after the book was done and I began doing these interviews that a really thoughtful food writer in England, Ruby Tando, asked me this question. She said, it really looks like these recipes in this book, it feels like you have a very personal relationship to them. And she's like, that's so interesting, because for me, I will develop a recipe, publish it, and never think about it again. And I was like, oh, yes, that's exactly right. These things are these things that I've been making and eating for years or my whole life. And that's the thing I want to share with you. Or if it's not that, it's that I come across something so special in the world. Like this morning, yesterday, I was at this extremely fancy and expensive like butcher shop grocery in East LA. And they had every time I come to LA, I buy these strawberries, these Harry's berries. Like, have you ever had them?
I don't think so.
Okay. They're like $15 for one cup of berries. They're tiny.
Get out.
And they are
$15?
Yes. And they are so good. I
Worth
would
every
go
bite.
Bankrupt on these strawberries
You
if
would.
I lived here.
That would be such an amazing turn for you. Like the New York Times has to write an article. Famed cook Samin goes bankrupt on Harry's strawberries.
Totally. And I bought a $17 mango.
They're like, what happened to her? Was it drinking? No, it was
just
strawberries.
Strawberries, totally.
It was strawberries.
And the fruit is so special, and it's special because of this family that grows this fruit, and they're third or fourth generation, like former interns, and they're growing these like incredibly fragrant strawberries that are much closer to the original strawberry.
Okay.
Because strawberries are I don't know if you know this, but strawberries the flavor has been bred out of strawberries because what makes them flavorful is also what makes them go bad. So in order for them to be shelf stable and be picked at Driscoll's farm and shipped all the way to Maine and sold at a Whole Foods there, you have to breed all of the flavor and the aroma out. So these Harry's berries are incredibly like delicate and they start going bad, but you buy them and you eat them. You eat them as fast as you can standing over the sink. And so, like, to me, I just am like, I want everyone to know how special this is. I want everyone to know about this apricot, this mango. Or I went to Sonora Town and I had this thing and, oh my God, he makes this tortilla because he drives to Mexico every 6 weeks to buy this special flour. And that's not something that I made up. What is interesting and special about it is like my enthusiasm of like, I want, and also this person's story, which is also not really what happens in a lot of cookbooks, right? You normally say, I came up with this thing, but I feel really uncomfortable. I didn't come up with this thing. So how do I tell someone else's story without taking from them? How do I share? How do I use this platform that I have? Or how do I share something like meaningful to me that might not be the most extravagant or dazzling thing? So that is also part of my discomfort with recipes is it takes extra work to make it into a valuable story that has meaning for me.
So it's a book of enthusiasms.
It is a book of enthusiasms.
Yeah, and you're trying to replicate what one would find in Samin's house.
Yeah, totally.
Onto the page here.
As much as possible, which is like a flawed premise to begin with, because the thing's never gonna be. It's always just gonna be a two-dimensional representation of something that varies day to day in my life.
Your first book, Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, you said was more a philosophy about cooking than a cookbook. How would you describe the guiding philosophy of Good Things?
It's a picture of me in this moment of time. It's me sharing the most I can possibly give in terms of my love and value of things like the handmade textiles in my life, the handmade ceramics, these gifts and treasures that people have shared with me. It's a treasure chest. Yeah, it's a time capsule and a treasure chest that I'm doing my best to sort of gingerly offer to you in the palm of my hand for you to do with what you would like.
As someone who's also a writer, the influences for this book also seem to be deeply literary. Tell me about Abraham Joshua Heschel's 1951 book, The Sabbath, and how it helped inform this book here.
Abraham Joshua Heschel was like a mid-century rabbi philosopher. He was a contemporary of Martin Luther King. I think they were friends. And he wrote a few books, including this little pocket-sized book called The Sabbath that a friend gave to me. I think because so many people I know at this point in time are deeply searching for a sense of meaning and sort of trying to answer for themselves this question, what is a good life? Abraham Joshua Heschel writes about Judaism being a religion not of things, but basically of time. And a huge practice in that is the carving out of this Sabbath. I think he calls it a cathedral in time. And that, as I sort of was trying to return back onto planet Earth from being uprooted and tumbled through just endless attention, praise, media, everything.
Followed by a pandemic.
Followed by a pandemic, my own depression.
Your father passed away.
My father passing away. In the midst of all of that, I was trying to figure out, what am I doing and why? Like, what was all of this for?
Why food now?
Yeah. And also, and like, it feels somehow so empty. It can feel so empty to be like, here's some recipes and nice pictures, make this thing.
I don't know. I made the one pot ricotta recipe. I wouldn't say it was empty.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm glad you made that
amazing.
one. Oh, good. It's a good one. I also feel like, as I have tried to figure out, what am I doing with my life?
Mm-hmm. Are you
And
asking that
why?
every day?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely do. Also, because part of it, it's interesting. It's starting again. I don't know what your experience with this is. Probably different because you never disappeared. But like, I made a thing. I became incredibly visible.
Yeah.
All of this attention and opportunity came. And whether or not I wanted it all, I try to sort of think about each thing carefully and say yes or no.
But you did want it, right?
Yeah, I wanted the success. I don't know that I wanted to be the face of whatever brands, whatever, anything.
You wanted to keep your name on the coffee cup order.
Yeah, so I wanted to figure out, like, what am I doing? And I think that answer to that and to what I'm capable of doing with the resources that I have, and the why of it, it took me a while to find it, but it ultimately has been about figuring out a way to maximize, or just to value my own time the best that I possibly can, and to sort of share this message of how important time is for all of us. And that in this book, one way in which we can express that value or share this most precious currency with other people who we care about is by eating with them or cooking for them or cooking with them. But that doesn't have to be the only way. I know some people don't care about cooking. And I think it's just about sort of the act of sharing this thing that I will never be able to get more of. Honestly, valuing myself enough and the people around me enough to understand that there is a gift enough in that.
In that book, The Sabbath, one must be overawed by the marvel of time to be ready to perceive the presence of eternity in a single moment. One must live and act as if the fate of all of time would depend on a single moment. Cue the Harry Strawberries
It's
moment.
truly like, and honestly, I mean, not to get too precious about it, but I do actually think fruit, for me, I really have a love affair with fruit, and I think fruit is kind of
Of all the things you can have a love affair with, not the worst.
It's not the worst, and I think fruit is such a perfect like metonym for time. I mean, fruit, and flowers, the two things I love so much. I love growing them, I love consuming them, I love sharing them, and they both are so much about that moment. Yeah, you wait too long to eat your apricots, they are overripe and moldy. You know, a flower arrangement, a beautiful flower arrangement, is at its best the moment it's created, and then it's dying. Like, there's just something so beautiful in sort of, it forces you to be so present, to taste those berries as you're jamming them down your mouth over the sink.
Nothing screams present like jamming strawberries down your mouth over the sink or making your cabbage slaw recipe. I feel like you've like kind of tap danced around and alluded to these things that have been going on in your life, and I wanted to talk about them square on. Like, in the midst of writing this book in the pandemic, which was hard enough, but you had, as you mentioned, several people in your life pass away. And you said recently to the New York Times that in the aftermath of your father's death, you've been re-examining your childhood and discovering that it was not exactly as it appeared to you as a child. So for context, your parents immigrated from Iran to America in 1976.
You know, I don't actually know the exact date. I usually say 76 if someone wants to know one, but
in the mid-70s.
Yeah,
for religious reasons, right?
It's a little tricky. So my dad's family was Baha'i.
Yes.
Baha'is were persecuted, or I will say they were persecuted basically, I think, since the founding of the religion in the 1800s. But the pressure and the persecution increased as the religious revolution approached. And so many Baha'is fled the country before the 1979 revolution, including the entirety of my dad's side of the family. My mom's side of the family is Muslim.
Uh-huh.
And so that caused some strife from the beginning between the two sides of the family and ultimately between my two parents.
Okay.
And I would say my brothers and I are no religion, like practice zero religion. And we were not really brought up in a religious tradition. We were just brought up sort of witnessing the tension between these two religions. But it was ultimately, my father and grandparents were, they were religious, they sought religious asylum. They came here under religious asylum, and then my mom followed.
So when you're growing up in San Diego, in this town, growing up in this neighborhood called University City, what was the story that you used to tell yourself and others about your childhood? And how are you understanding it differently now in the aftermath of your father's death?
I think my whole childhood, I was trying to fit in a very white world. And so I think the story I told myself was, if I'm just sort of good enough and try hard enough and am nice enough, maybe no one will notice that I'm not white. and that sort of was my aim in my broader life. And then at home, there was a similar version of, if I try hard enough and I'm good enough and I'm nice enough, like maybe I'll fit in here, because I never fit in. I kind of just didn't fit in anywhere.
Your mom would say, at school, you're in America. At home, you're in Iran.
Mm-hmm. And I, of course, trying to be the best kid I could be, really tried to embody that. We spoke Farsi at home, ate Persian food, all of the things. But it's kind of unsettling, and it's an impossible task to give a child, because, I believed about myself that, I must not fit in at school because I'm Iranian. And, I must not like fully fit in here because I'm, American. But maybe if I go to Iran, like this mythical place where all of my ancestors are from, and like that'll be where I fit in.
You went at what, 14 years old?
And I did not fit in. I did not. I very much was not like them. And that was really unsettling too. So I think sort of as a kid, you're just doing your best. And I think I was just trying to win at a game of chess that I was never going to win. And now I realize, like, I was given an impossible task. And on top of that, there were all these layers of trauma and grief that we never looked at or talked about or addressed. I had a sister who was born, she was a year and a half older than me. And when my mom was pregnant with me, they found out my sister had a terminal brain tumor. And so I was born into like a state of extreme sort of grief and trauma and trying to save this child who was unsavable. And that is not something we ever talked about once, I have no memories of my sister.
Yeah. There's one photograph of the two of you in the kitchen.
In the fridge, yeah.
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 Which is an amazing photo.
Yeah.
An amazing photo.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you saw that one.
It was on yours.
It was in the Substack. I only have a few photos of her. And in my mind growing up, she was kind of just like an avatar of something.
But let me ask you, you said that you didn't talk about these things.
No.
These repressed traumas.
Yeah.
When was the first time you realized, my sister passed away?
I remember when I was in high school.
If it wasn't talked about.
It wasn't talked about. However, we did, there were pictures of her. I knew she wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
We did on her birthday and Persian New Year go visit her grave.
Okay.
So I knew there had been a sister. It was just the effect of having had a sister and her being gone was never explored in any way. And if anything, it was very much like not my loss to grieve, because I was just like kind of a, barely conscious lump of flesh at 1.5. It wasn't, I think it was my parents' loss to grieve. And that was sort of what it was considered. And because it made my mom so sad, we never talked about it. And I do remember when I was in high school, there's just like this fleeting thought went by at one point where I think because I had friends who had siblings who were also in high school, older siblings, that I was like, if my sister were here, I would have had that. Like, I wouldn't have been the oldest. I would have been the middle kid or the youngest. And there would have been this other girl. And would we have liked each other, hated each other, fought? Would she have let me use her clothes? Like there was just this sense of, there was this shadow, this ghost that I kind of just wondered about. But I don't think I just don't think I had the emotional bandwidth or the psychological bandwidth to think about it in any broader terms. And it wasn't truly until I read a draft of my friend Laurel Braitman's memoir about loss and grief, and I was so struck with the grief, and it felt so familiar that I was like, maybe there's something in this for me, but what could I possibly have to grieve? And this was in 2021. This was when I was, 41 years old. Almost over 40 years after my sister died, it started to occur to me, maybe I had something to grieve too. And my neighbors, I live in this little compound of 4 homes, and my neighbor, Aya, who actually shot the book, at the time she had a son who was 1.5. And in the mornings he would come over and knock on my door and come say hi to me and my puppy. And I was like, he's so alive and vibrant. He has a personality. He's a whole person. And if his older sister disappeared tomorrow and no one ever talked about it, he would be devastated. Like he would wonder what had happened. It would be this huge, confusing loss. And so that was the first moment I could have a little compassion for myself and understand, like, oh, this probably has had some sort of effect on me and been resonating my whole life. And I haven't even known to open that door.
You said once in describing your childhood that growing up in your home, you constantly were watching your parents both losing their minds. Mm-hmm. What did that look like?
It was like a pressure cooker, it's not that, I won't speak for our whole culture, but like my family, for sure, we have tempers and we yell and stuff. So there was some of that, but it was more that there was just a sense of pressure at all times. Mm-hmm. And for me, my escape, like my safe place, was to go to my room and read. That was where, and only now have I sort of understood, it's because I could close a door and go into my own world, because I never knew in what way I would let somebody down or, be found to be lacking. And that to me as a kid, like the kid who only wanted to please, was that was like the most painful thing.
Did you often feel like you were lacking?
All the time, yeah.
And what? Give me an example. Like, what would that
not
look
beautiful
like?
And like even
your mother would say that.
She didn't tell me I wasn't beautiful, but like one of the funniest things I think is like my whole life, my mom would tell me, "Don't worry." This is to me as like a 9-year-old, right? "Don't worry, I'm saving up so that when you're 18, I can get you a nose job and a chin job and fix that." Sorry, I did it right when you took a huge swallow. So I was like, I was unclear because I didn't know I was supposed to worry, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there were kids at my high school. There were Persian kids at my high school who had nose jobs. Like I was aware of it as a thing for sure, but I didn't even know that I was supposed to worry. So then, of course, I started worrying, and then 18 came and went, and there was no nose job. So now I was, which of course I don't want, but
Yeah.
But it gave me a complex I wasn't even aware that I needed to have. There was a lot of that kind of pointing out the ways in which I like was falling short, or which I do believe comes from like my own, they were trying to protect, they were trying to make me the best. It was not, but I think it was also just from a lot of, it's not a big part of Persian culture to like psychologically evaluate. Self-awareness, I would not call it like one of our big skills. And there's a distrust of therapy. There's a distrust of talking outside of the family, telling anyone anything private. And that doesn't help when you have all of these major, major traumas and griefs that you really need to process. I mean, the trauma of leaving your country is so gnarly. And I think sometimes about all of the forms of racism that my parents were facing in my childhood.
Did you see it?
There were times I for sure saw it. I mean,
I mean, San Diego's,
it's a pretty white conservative, like military town. And there were things like
do you have a memory that comes to mind?
the one that is like really fresh in my mind. My brother and I were just talking about it. Is probably when I was like in 6th or 7th grade. My dad ran like what would you call it? Like an immigration services business. It was like a notary public. He would take passport photos. He would help you do your immigration forms. And in San Diego, there are a lot of people from Mexico, but also because my dad had worked in like education, he could help foreign students and all sorts of refugees and stuff. And I think just to get my grandpa out of the house, he would take him to work with him. And they worked in a very like unglamorous strip mall next to the where the like immigration what INS it was called at the time, which was like the office downtown. And one day like some white guy came in with and started beating my dad and my grandpa with a cane and, calling them racist names. And ultimately, and then my dad took him to court. And I think for whatever reason, he lost. Like there was just this thing where they came and did physical violence in his business and he lost. And I think that was really humiliating for him. And at the time, I didn't understand the whole story. But now I'm just like, oh, that was blatant, like crazy anti-Middle Eastern racism. When I was in 2nd grade, a kid called me a terrorist, and I didn't know what that meant. This was like Oliver North time, like Iran-Contra affair. So it was just now looking back, I understand that my whole life, Iran has just only sort of meant one thing in the larger like Western public narrative. And that's it's a sadness for me because there's so much more. The reason I find it important to talk about this stuff is because it's so subtle and it's and I spend a lot of time being like, why am I complaining about this stuff? Like no one was beating me up. I always had food to eat more or less. Like it was not.
So that's my last question I had because as I said, as you know, since you've listened to the show, I do some would say too much research, and part of the research before talking to you today was reading about the Baha'i faith, and you did recently call your dad violent.
Oh yeah, he was very, 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 very like abusive.
But the Baha'i faith, I mean, I just read this. This is from the Baha'i Publishing Committee of 1973. Here's what it says in the bylaws. The Baha'is are forbidden to resort to force, even in self-defense. Yeah. They are bidden to be obedient to the laws of their country and not to resist with violence any aggression. Yeah. Which, to me, I don't know if I could exhibit such self-restraint. Yeah. But I guess
that's also a religious ideal. Like who like,
right, exactly. But I want to understand, since they came here and they fled this place for religious reasons. In your house, you said there was 2 warring religions between Muslim faith and Baha'i. What did the principles look like? And did it match up with the behavior you experienced?
Both of my parents, I would say, practiced their religion apart from us. Oh. So I was not, my mom has gotten more religious, I think, as she gets older. So there was, both of them, we were not like, we never went to any religious gatherings. We, and so much of because my mom had been harmed really intensely and demeaned by my father's family, she has held a lifelong grudge against not only the family, but their faith. Oh. And so a lot of like what was happening my mom was like, nothing Baha'i will enter this house. So we experienced and were sort of saw anything Baha'i when we went to our grandfather's house, when we went to our grandparents' house, or sort of witnessed my dad's broader community, his broader family. But there was not, I didn't actually know very much about the Baha'i faith until I went to college, and I took a religions class and I like got books to read because I, in so many ways, had been taught by my mom to distrust, and like I try in my life to not have like prejudice against anyone for any reason, or part of their identity. But I definitely it took a lot of work for me to outgrow the prejudice against the Baha'i faith that like was sort of drilled into me as a kid. And when I started reading about it, I was like, wow, well, this sounds like a perfectly nice religion.
It sounds
like,
very
very
nice.
peaceful, really nice.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what there is to dislike about it. Like, but
You didn't understand your mother's grudge.
no, and because like as you said at the beginning, you said my parents came in 1976. There's so much I don't know
Yeah.
about my family. There are so many specifics I don't know, and I'll probably never know.
Yeah.
And when my dad was in the hospital, so I've been estranged from my dad since I was about 19 years old, pretty much. Like, I just had to separate myself from him and stay away from him.
So that's right when you leave home and you go to Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
And you two are estranged from that point on?
More or less. Like, it felt like these people who had sort of just told me what to do, but not really helped me or guided me or led me in any meaningful way throughout my childhood and adolescence, my dad and my grandpa, they were sort of just like these characters around. I did what they told me to do.
Yeah.
And then they show up and they change the rules of the game. And
At
that
the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was really just heartbreaking for like all I'd wanted was this one thing, and they took that away. And also there was a little voice inside of me that said, if I stay home, I will die. Like there's something inside of me will die. And then also like I put myself, like I financially sort of separated myself, and he still tried to tell me what to do.
How do you mean?
Like he would just pop up and I wanted to go to Spain for my year abroad. And he's like, absolutely not. You have to go to England. And I was like, okay. Like there were just these ways I didn't know how to disobey. So I did all the things that, I want this job. No, you have to apply for that summer job. Like there would just be this, I'm going to buy this computer. No, you have to buy this computer with your own money that you made.
What do you think would have happened if you disobeyed?
I probably would have like regretted it immediately and begged for forgiveness. I think I couldn't draw the line until I had enough like stability and security in my own life and a sense of self to just be like, I'm not actually doing anything wrong here. I'm not doing some terrible thing. And so that didn't happen for another 10 years or so. So there was still some contact, but it really wasn't. It actually, when I finally drew the boundary was after I sold the book contract for Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, because that was the first time in my life I had any sense of financial stability.
That's 2013.
Yeah. And so I realized I was like, okay, I don't, and I really stopped talking to him at that point, because everything with him had always been a sort of power game and a manipulation. And it was ultimately always about money, because that was a way he could always control. Even though what's crazy is like, I never got anything from him. So somehow I let him control me with the promise of money that never actually came. I don't understand.
I don't love this deal for you.
Yeah, it was not fun. And so I think realizing I could do it for myself, there's so much fear in the world. Like, I did not grow up poor by any means, but I always worked. I worked to put myself through college. When I started working at Chez Panisse, I made $10 an hour.
So that's you as a busser in
as a
1998.
busser. And then as a cook, I also made $10 an hour. For a lot of years, I made $12 to $15 an hour as a cook.
You worked so much that when you graduated from Berkeley, you didn't go to your graduation.
I had 3 jobs when I was a grad. I had that last year of school, I worked at Chez Panisse. I worked as like the arts editor of the school paper, and I had a job. Like I was a reader for one of my professors, reading papers and grading papers.
When I read that, this is silly maybe, but were your parents upset that they couldn't go to the graduation?
No, nobody mentioned it. Like it was.
No one cared.
Nobody cared. Yeah.
And you didn't care.
I didn't. I don't think I would have wanted them to come. It would have made me feel uncomfortable to sort of perform family happiness.
Right, because that was so far from
it was not the truth. And so later that summer, there was the 30th birthday of Chez Panisse, and it was on campus. So I sort of told myself that was my graduation.
I want to talk about the early, the early experiences of you cooking.
Yeah.
As much as we've talked about family drama.
Sorry.
And we'll double back to that. Don't worry.
Great. My favorite.
It's obviously a thing that I relate to and understand.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. Okay. Working at Chez Panisse. Did I say it right?
Chez Panisse.
God damn it.
It's okay.
Working at Chez Panisse. What was the first dish that you didn't know how to cook that you've perfected?
Oh, that's interesting.
Or the
man.
one where you're like, okay, I think I have something here.
I don't remember what the first was. I do know that I have a journal that I would, because for a long time I was still bussing tables and volunteering in the kitchen for like a half a day or a day. So I would go home and write in this journal the tasks that I'd been allowed to do that day, which now I just look back on with the hugest heart full of love for that kid, because it would be like, today Lori let me clean salted anchovies under and remove the skeletons under the running water of the faucet. Today I got to peel garlic. Like, it was so, today I learned how to make mayonnaise,
That's amazing.
and it was so cute.
Is this part of the manifestation journal?
No, this was just it was sort of like a recipe journal.
Okay, so you have one manifestation journal,
Yeah.
one recipe journal,
Yeah.
and then one like day-to-day journal.
I'm not that organized, Sam. The day-to-day was the messy recipe one, where I would also like cut and paste things that
We're just trying to understand the scene.
Yeah, but and
We want to know Samin's process.
and so but I do remember probably a year after that. It was a long time after that they would have let me make something start to finish, and I wasn't just sort of helping people and trying to stay out of the way. And there was a day when I had been working. There's a job called pasta lettuce, and it's because you make the pasta and you wash the lettuce.
Huh?
That's your whole 8-hour shift, is making fresh pasta
Okay.
and washing all the lettuces for people to then make salads out.
Okay.
And so I'd been doing that for a few months, and there was somebody called in sick in the fancy downstairs formal dining room. One of the cooks called in sick. So they came to me and they're like, and I was eating lunch upstairs. It was a Saturday. I was eating lunch with my roommate's family. And they came to the table and they're like, someone called in sick. Like, we're desperate. Can you go home and get your knives or whatever, change out of these clothes and come back and come work tonight?
You've been waiting for this call.
Yes, totally. And it was so exciting. And I was like, I'll be right back. And so I like ran home, I like left the meal. It was fully like cartoon, like, like smoke marks in the middle, whatever. And I like went home, got my stuff, came back, and I was
You were running
ready
with
to
your
show
knives?
up. Yeah, totally. And I'm like, put me in, coach. And so they put me in, and I made, and the menus are written, in advance. And so you kind of have to stick to what was written. So he didn't change it to make it easier for me. So I had to make these ravioli that are very traditional, like pasta from Emilia Romagna, that when I tell you what it is, it's going to sound kind of gross, but it tastes delicious.
Okay.
Which is, they make like a braised beef. And this is like a peasant cuisine. So they might make like braised chuck or some sort of tough cut. And that becomes the main dish. And then the broth from the braised beef gets combined with a little bit of breadcrumbs and Parmesan cheese. And this breadcrumb cheese filling soaked with broth becomes the ravioli filling. So you get two dishes out of one pot of meat.
Nothing sounds disgusting so far.
It's just that, yeah. And so it's just that they're not stuffed with, some perfect fresh filling. It's kind of like it's stretching things. And so I think someone else must have cooked the meat, but I like shredded it. And I did all the things and made the filling with the thing. And I like showed up and I, folded 250 raviolis. No, it was probably like 500 actually, because there's 100 people downstairs. Everyone gets 500 raviolis. And there was just this feeling of everybody being like, go, Samin, go. Because they knew, like all the cooks knew how badly I wanted it for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And it always was so out of reach. And this was this amazing night where I got to be the one who helped, Like,
they knew that you were the young woman going home, writing in the journal, they let me wash lettuce today.
Totally. So pathetic.
I don't think so.
It's just so I've just always been that, like, I want to do that. Like,
It's called giving a shit.
yeah. maybe I like have always cared a little too much, but I don't know how to not, you know.
Oh God, I couldn't possibly
Yeah,
relate to that.
yeah, totally.
So you were trying too hard in the restaurant, and then did you continue trying too hard as a sous chef?
Yeah, I always tried too hard. There I was like, you know, the restaurant where I worked when I came home from Italy, Eccolo, was run by the chef who had been my mentor at Chez Panisse. And this was an Italian restaurant. And
This is in Berkeley.
in Berkeley
Yeah.
also. And it was a short-lived. It was from 2004 to 2009. It sort of died after the economic crash. And we were always sort of in financial precarity. It takes often 5 years for a restaurant to break even. And we were just hitting that when the crash happened in 2008. And so there was always this pressure from the owner, from the restaurant investor who lived in New York and had many successful restaurants there. And he's like, I know how to run a restaurant. Like, I don't know what you fools in California are doing. And so I was constantly trying to like be more economical while still adhering to all of our philosophies and values that we had brought from Chez Panisse, that we had learned about supporting the farms and cooking with the good ingredients and all this kind of stuff.
What kind of eggs did you guys use?
Oh no, you know about the eggs. So we had found this tiny farm, this incredible farmer Alexis who raised chickens, and at the time, this was the early 2000s. It was the like eating locally and Michael Pollan and the locavore movement, and locally produced meats was really sort of becoming part of the like broader food culture. And Alexis started a farm where she was raising chickens, and they were pastured, which meant that they spent the day out on open pasture. And so we were one of her first customers, and I loved those eggs. They were the most beautiful eggs. And we would buy them, and then they would check our invoices. The New York like accountants and they were like, "Why are you spending so much money on pasteurized eggs?" And I was like, "Not pasteurized, pastured. Like it's two totally different things." And there was just a sort of fundamental like value misalignment, which honestly was a great lesson for me of like, do not get into a collaboration or get into bed with people if you have that much misalignment fundamentally, because everything's going to be a struggle. So I would do things like, in order to not sacrifice the things that I cared about, I would drive an hour each way to the farm myself to do the pickup so that we didn't have to pay for delivery. Or I would get the number 2 tomatoes instead of the perfect number 1 tomatoes, and then sort through them, each one, like hundreds of pounds of tomatoes a week, and then turn all of the crusts and crumbs and tips and tops into tomato sauce that I would then can so that we could use it. Like I truly embodied the Italian farm wife of this restaurant. And I don't know if in the end it was financially helpful in any way, but I learned a lot.
But wouldn't your mom do the exact same thing growing up?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a bakery in Irvine that she would take you guys to?
Yeah. I mean, I think that
Irvine's not that close to San
88
Diego.
miles. 88 miles.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
I've done that drive a lot of times.
You were like, it's 88 miles both ways. Oh no.
Yeah.
But she would take you guys to Orange County, Los Angeles, all to get Iranian cuisine,
the
right?
taste of home, for
Right.
sure. Yeah, like that, which I at the time thought it was unique to my family or to my culture, and now having spent so much time with people from all over the world, I understand. I do think that that's a big part of being an immigrant, is like you're always looking for the taste of home. And I will say I've never met anyone as crazy as Iranians are for like going the distances, literal and figurative, to which we will go for the taste. I mean, even me coming in here and saying, I'm going to buy Harry's Berries every time I get there, or like every year I drive 2.5 hours to pick all the apricots to make my own jam. This is very much a part of like my culture, and also luckily something beautiful in my career, that many of my colleagues also share.
So you did everything you could to make this restaurant solvent.
Mm-hmm.
But it had to close in 2009. And in the summer of 2009, you wrote a piece for the
Oh, wow, you found that.
San Francisco Chronicle. And there's a section here I thought you could maybe read for us.
Sure.
Because
wow, this is very early writing. I'm going to be so embarrassed.
Because in The Bear, which everyone has been watching and loving, there's kind of an amazing montage where Sydney, Io's character. She's flipping through images in her head of all these chefs that she's met. And all of these chefs around Chicago that are so talented, that have driven to God knows where to get X ingredient, to cut costs, to cut any kind of financial corner to make their dream possible. All of these people have had restaurants that opened and closed. And that talent alone just doesn't, it's just not enough.
Yeah.
You wrote this piece in 2009
Yeah.
as your shop closed up or had to close up.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe you could read it.
Sure. Just this little bit right here. Before shutting the doors, we decided to have a week of special dinners. We'd cook the food we loved to eat, be surrounded by our friends, and pay tribute to the purveyors whose work we'd so greatly appreciated. We spent each day in the kitchen preparing a different menu of Chris's favorite dishes. Ekolo overflowed with people. Regulars fretted about where they would now eat. Chris and I just looked at each other and wondered, where were all these people before this? How could it be that only now, on the eve of closing, Ekolo had become the restaurant we'd always wanted? We kept hearing from people, I wish I had come more. We wished it too. Regardless of what the money people said, I think these customers knew that we were doing the right thing. Supporting family farmers, putting money back into the local economy, hiring people from the neighborhood. I just don't think most people realize how hard or expensive those choices are. Wow, it's really wild how this is still so true. 14 years later, 15 years later, 16 years later. I can't do math.
16 years
16
later.
years later. Like, I mean, like the bear nails it. I think restaurant culture right now, this is what we were talking about with Dave yesterday. Like, it's just, I think certainly after the pandemic, it's really, really hard to have a restaurant. And people don't know.
Yeah, but you know, there's another part that really stuck out to me, which is you write, where were all these people before this? And I've been thinking about this a lot in our culture right now, because I think we need to realign and reprioritize the things that matter to us and how we go about
Me too.
expressing that enthusiasm. And I'm not just saying that as someone who makes a show every week. But I am saying that as someone who makes a show every week. Like, you know what's like, you know what I don't want to see anymore? Are restaurants closing and shows ending and the onslaught of people posting about it online.
Yeah.
It's fine that you want to write elegies in your obituary, your postmortems. And I'm not just saying it for talk easy. I mean, for you, for anyone who's given so much to the thing, I do think we all need to be better at, in the moment, while we are here and alive, and this thing is here and alive, you should say something.
Yeah, agreed.
You should post something. You should go as often as you can, financially, as often as you can, and afford financially. If you like something, you should share it.
Or if you like having that store in your neighborhood and it costs a little more than going online and buying it, like maybe buying something.
Yeah.
Buying the book at the store. Or buying whatever.
Don't wait till it's gone.
Yeah.
To say that you give a shit.
Yeah.
And I think in restaurants, I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
Where people are like, oh, God, I love that place. It's like, well, then you should have gone.
Yeah. I mean, to me, this is directly tied to this other thing I've been thinking so much about, which is like the value of making.
Yeah.
And things that are made for us. And especially when you, like in this sort of, we're sitting under the shadow of an approaching AI world where like things it will be more and more precious and more expensive for us to acquire and consume and enjoy things that are made for us by humans without each passing day.
Yeah.
And one of the pleasures of life is eating in a restaurant, I think, and I don't even mean a fancy restaurant. I just mean one of the few remaining things available and accessible to most people is to go to a restaurant and eat something, even if it's a $2 taco from a taco truck. That is one of the few ways that we have right now to experience that somebody made you something from start to finish. Because I love a beautiful handmade textile, from Gregory Parkinson in India, but like I can have that once every 3 years, like it's very expensive. And I love the beautiful ceramics and I love those things. And I want to fill my life with things that are made by hands. But food is luckily still here for us, but we have to know it. There are many ways in which that can be taken away from us too.
Whenever I'm getting ready to leave town, like when I'm heading to New York or Aspen for live shows, there's a small ritual before I walk out the door. I water my plants, unplug a few things, and make sure I didn't leave behind my notebook and chargers. It's interesting, though, how much time and attention we pay to the trip itself, but not much time and attention to the time in which we're away. That's changed for me recently over the past year, especially as I've been thinking about listing my space on Airbnb whenever I'm out of town. It gives someone else the chance to experience Los Angeles from a neighborhood that actually feels lived in. It can also help offset the cost of my own plans while I'm away. I like ideas that don't require you to reinvent the wheel or your entire routine. You're already traveling. Listing your space is simply another way to make the most out of that time and help someone else connect with the city along the way. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host. After the restaurant closes in 2009, you have a winding journey of cooking and working with Michael Pollan. You sell the book in 2013, as you mentioned earlier, and you then pitch the show on October 30th of 2016.
Yeah, wild.
You go to Netflix and you pitch it, I think probably in Los Angeles here. When you pitch Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, what did the pitch sound like?
Oh, it was so cool. It was really cool. And also you have to know, like, I don't know anything about Hollywood. I don't know anything about pitching. I only know how to show up and be my crazy self.
Okay.
And
so give me the crazy self.
And so they, luckily, like the production company that was making this with me,
Jigsaw?
Yeah, they had the idea to, because I didn't know what a normal, quote unquote, normal pitch looked like.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that ours wasn't normal.
Okay, how was yours not
and
normal?
So what they did was we rented a house that was kind of conveniently located to where the executives from Netflix lived. And then I like went to the Santa Monica Farmers Market. I bought all this stuff and we set it up so that I would basically do a cooking class and like a cooking demonstration for the executives when they came. And we had, I don't know if there was a screen or like or whatever, but we sort of had the stuff to show them the typical pitch stuff. But also the pitch was me. It was me being me.
You doing
and
you.
Showing like I can cook and talk at the same time. And I can do that, and they were like, well, this is fun, but like, is all you're interested in is the farmer's market? And I was staying at my friend's mom's house and I like brought all of her linen. I tried to make it really nice and cute. And they're like, this is cool, but like, is that all you? And I said, no, actually, like the farmer's market is my pleasure and joy, but I think there's so much more. And so let me tell you about these things. And it was just, I could tell there were three of them and I could tell that one of them, like, I just knew I had him. Like, and he has these like icy blue eyes. And there was just this way, like, he was looking at me and I was like, that's my guy. I got him. We're talking about cooking. Like, he gets me. And that ended up being, like, who bought my show.
When they greenlit it, it was maybe a couple days after Donald Trump won his first
election, yeah.
Where were you? And
I was home. I remember I was in bed. Like, I was pretty comatose from the election. So like, I didn't really want to ever get out of bed. And there was just this feeling that was so confusing of this very intense happiness. And like this feeling of, oh my God, an opportunity is coming.
Yeah.
And also what does it mean for me to do that in this time, when this is the people that I'm speaking to? Do they even want to hear what I have to say? Does it make sense for me to make myself visible in front of them?
Yeah.
Would I be safe? It felt really sort of, I don't know, whatever the extreme version of bittersweet is.
When you got the call that they greenlit it, you said, what does it mean for me to decide to be a public person when the public has sent a very clear message in 2016 with the election that I'm not the kind of person they want to see on camera?
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this quote since I read it. And I wonder, like, do you think those two realities are connected? Because the show became massively popular.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like, I don't want to hear your politics. Just can't give me your recipes. That I
Yeah.
get.
Maybe I'm misreading. You tell
Yeah,
me.
I
I don't
don't
know. I've
know.
just been
I
thinking
don't
about
know.
that.
I mean, and I don't know. Like listening to you read those words back, maybe the thing that I felt was less about like that they didn't want a person like me on camera, and just that they didn't want a person like me around.
Right.
And certainly, like within months of that, right? Like January 2017, there's like a Muslim ban, an immigration ban against people from where I'm from. And and even just a week ago, I was at a beautiful wedding of a Bengali couple, and it was a Muslim wedding that presided over by a Palestinian imam. And the whole time, there are all these amazing Bengali rituals or Bangladeshi rituals. And it was just such a beautiful thing to witness and be a part of. So fun. And I remember multiple times wondering, like, I wonder if these people who all live, very local to me feel safe or have times regularly where they don't feel safe.
Hmm.
And I asked some of the young people there, and they were like, oh yeah, it really reminds me of 2001, which 2001 was a really hard. That was very much, there's a before and after in my own life, even though I'm not personally religious. Like, it doesn't matter if you're religious or not, if you look a certain way or if your name sounds like something. So I just have had fear for myself and for my brothers and for people who look like me that's been heightened since 2001. And I sort of got dull to it, and then it reignited in 2016. And right now it's really strong.
When you made the show in 2017, 2018, on the set, did your mother ever come to set?
She did. She was in one of the episodes.
Right, episode 4. And what did she make of you making a show for Netflix?
I don't think she understood. She didn't understand what it was. She didn't understand. She didn't understand the scope of what we were making. And she definitely didn't understand that it was my show from my idea.
Who did she think made the show?
I think she sort of read the room. She saw the way that people were deferring to the director. And she was like, oh, this is the person that is the most respected and in charge, which of course a director is important. But there's a way also where like she just couldn't, I don't think she could process that the thing was built around me and my idea.
Huh.
And to the point where like at some point she turned to the director and she said, she was trying to figure it out. That's right. She said, Caroline, like, whose show is this? And everyone on set at this point, this was our last, no, it was the 3rd episode that we filmed. And by this time we were all very tight and everyone was so sort of like, Samin, what do you think about this? Samin, what do you think about this? We'd been to Japan, we'd been to Italy together, we were they saw me speak different languages. So I remember Luke, my director of photography, his jaw just fell because he was like, wow, your own mom doesn't understand this is your thing, right? Like, and I kind of threw I totally like a teenager threw a tantrum. I was like, no, this is my show. You don't understand. This is based on my book. It's my show. And that's the difference between like even then and now, is like now I just know I can't expect anything. The pain comes from the expecting or the hoping. And so it's better to just not hope and understand like what is.
You're not asking for a lot.
I know.
Do you think that's too much to ask for?
Not too much, but it's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
And that's different, right?
And why can't that happen?
I don't know. People have limitations. Like I asked one of my therapists, what makes somebody have capacity for change and growth?
Yeah.
Like, where does capacity come from? And she was like, a lot of times it comes from, because there are people who've been mistreated or harmed and grow up to be totally generous, open, self-aware people. And then there are people who don't. And I think for my mom and for my dad, there was a lot of pain and loss. I think in their lives, I think early in their lives. I sort of have to guess what some of that is. And I have to, like I said, in my most skillful moments, extend a lot of compassion to them for that, and just understand, like, so the capacity comes from somebody seeing you clearly in your early childhood, I think. Like, and I don't think either of my parents had that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really sad, like what they became, especially my dad, really became something really harmful to many people around him. And
Harmful to you?
for sure harmful to me. I mean, my dad, he had some pathology. I don't know what it was, but he just really like enjoyed making people miserable. And it was like, yeah, so that was not,
Really?
it was power games. So when I say violent, it was not physically violent. It was real, like, intense emotional violence.
Beyond the you should get a different laptop, not that laptop.
Oh, yes, yeah. Like, just crazy manipulation. Even in my estrangement with him, there was a lot of, like, I always suspected that he was stalking me, or that he would try to, like, I bought a house. I figured out I like made money after the show and I bought a house, and I immediately knew, I was like, he's going to figure out a way to try and take this house from me. And I kept but then I would, like, go to therapy, and my therapist would be like, well, do you have any reason to believe these things? Or is this just what your child self is feeling? And I'm like, well, I guess I don't have any proof, and then, I just was like, I could imagine him coming here and tripping outside and suing me, just to mess with me. He loved suing people just to mess with them. And so, when he was in the hospital, he had a traumatic brain injury that left him on life support and in the hospital for close to 6 months. And that is how and why I got sort of brought back in to his life at the end, was to try to advocate to get him off of those machines, because neither of my parents want that or wanted that. And that became like a very complicated and melodramatic thing when we found out he had a secret wife in Israel who was calling and telling the hospital that my brothers and I were murderers who were trying to steal all of his money. So it just became this, like, medical and legal nightmare that extended for way longer than it needed to. And as we were looking desperately for a legal document that showed his medical wishes, we were going through his files and stuff, and I actually found proof that he was stalking me, that he was sending people to spy on me, that he was trying to figure out how to harm me, that he was, like, saying horrible things about me, which in a way was so validating, because I was like, God, I knew it. And that we found a cache of secret videos. He made a secret YouTube channel with, like, 45-hour-long videos of himself just ranting at the camera with the quote unquote real truth. That's also where he revealed we had Jewish ancestry, which had always been kept from us. And that actually sort of tracked when I, like, traced some of the stuff. I was like, oh, this makes total sense. Also, a lot of Baha'is were Jews who became Baha'i. And so I was like, this is so cool. I was like, this is amazing. Like, you know what I mean? I just was like, amazing.
Some of this information, don't love it.
Yeah.
But some other...
Yeah, other parts of it are so cool. Like, there's just things where I'm like, wow, I wish I had known this about myself.
At your father's funeral, to wrap around back to the book, it's my understanding that there was a conversation you have with a relative that about this book and that book.
Oh, yeah.
That was a way for you to sort of think about what you've been doing and where you're going.
Wow. Yes. Yeah. It was right when my dad died. It was my my uncle's wife, who I'm not super close with, but this is her second marriage, and she had lost a child in her, like, past. And also she's Iranian, and she in many ways is much more sort of psychologically sound than either of my parents, and let's say emotionally sound than either of my parents. And I asked her, I said, how did you lost a child in such a crazy way, and my mom lost a child, and you have a different relationship to your surviving child and to reality than my mom does. Like, what did you do different? And she was like, oh, I went to therapy. And also I realized I had to really get clear because I still had another kid to take care of. And so I couldn't let that kid's life be only about this loss. And I was like, oh, interesting. And so we talked and I said, oh, my, a thing I've understand about myself now is that I've spent my whole life trying to be 2 kids worth of good and trying to make up for this like impossible loss. Essentially, like that was what I internalized. And there's no way a person can ever do that. Like I was never going to be 2 kids. I couldn't. But
for you and your sister.
For me and my sister. Yeah. So I was always trying to somehow fill this impossible hole for all of us. And she said, salt, fat, acid, heat was such a huge thing. You put everything you had into it. You did the thing. That was the thing where you were trying to be 2 siblings. Like it was the you and your sister's worth of good. And what if your next book is just you and that's enough? And that sort of was just a really kind of beautiful sort of moment of being seen by someone in my extended family. And also like a really kind of emotionally insightful way for me to consider that what it is that I'm trying to do. And also like, yeah, just the incredible amount of pain and suffering I put myself through to make anything, the impossibly high standards. And what's crazy is I know I'm never going to make another salt fat. Like there's never going to be another one. And I don't even have a lot of grief about that. Like that was its own wonderful thing.
Yeah, it took like 19 years.
Yeah. Like there's not going to be another one. You can't manufacture that and it's fine. I just, yeah, I don't know. Like I just needed to hear somebody else be like, what you are is enough and what you'll make will be enough.
So as we close, why don't we talk about this book again and kind of what it means to you and what you hope it means to people who buy it. Because when you released Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, and then the show on Netflix, you said your hope is that the program and the book convey the idea that good food around the world is more similar than it is different, and that we as humans are more similar than we are different. The idea was that maybe by learning about somebody's food culture, maybe you'll have some more compassion for them.
That was so idealistic.
Do you still believe that?
No, I don't. I think that was really naive. And it takes a lot more than eating somebody's tacos to believe that they shouldn't get shut out of this country or, chased out by ICE. So I don't know that I believe that. But maybe it's something so much more simple that I do believe, and let's say I'll have the like audacity to hope is one small way that we can like take care of ourselves and of each other is to spend some time together in a world that like is just trying to take all of our attention and time away from us and trying to convince us that we need something more than what we have and what we are to be okay. And so like this is a book of recipes for boiling broccoli, for pasta with a tub of ricotta dumped in it, for, yellow cake with chocolate frosting. It's simple, delicious stuff that makes my days a little more special and meaningful. And whether or not you read this book or cook from it, like my message that I hope is that you can find some small way in your day to spend some time with people who you care about.
My personal favorite episode from The Bear is an episode called Forks.
Me too. That's my favorite.
It's amazing.
It's so good.
And in it, like Cousin Richie is staging for like a very fancy restaurant, like the kind that you probably worked at.
That's way fancier than anywhere.
Even fancy. Is it like a French Laundry kind of thing?
Yeah, it's called Ever. It's a real restaurant in Chicago. It's called Ever, yeah.
And basically, in the episode, he receives a crash course in working in fine dining, extremely fine dining. And there's a scene toward the end of the episode between Richie and the chef at the restaurant, Chef Terry, played by the great Olivia Colman. And I thought maybe we could watch that for a moment.
I would love nothing more. It's so beautiful.
What are you making? I'm just peeling mushrooms for the lamb de tournelle.
Peeling mushrooms.
Yeah. It's just a nice little fun detail, so when the diners see it, they know that someone spent a lot of time on their dish. Do you want to have a go?
Right?
Okay. So hold it like this.
Mm-hmm.
Knife 1300. Grab the end and just peel. Like that. Just go slowly. Yeah.
1300, huh?
Yeah.
Do you serve?
Dad did.
Yeah, same. Staff sergeant.
Corporal.
A lot of standards.
Yeah. Turns out I like standards.
Do you move around a lot?
Yeah. You? I know Carmen.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry that he pulled a favor.
Not at all. I don't do favors.
How's that?
That's great.
Can I do another one?
Yes, please do.
So why do you do this?
I do it for a living.
No, but like, don't you have stodges that do this shit?
Yeah, well, I like starting the day with this.
Why?
Respect. Feels attached. I think time spent doing this is time well spent.
Time well spent? That's what it's all about?
Yeah, I think so.
When you watch that, where does it land with you?
It just, that from the first time I saw that, I've watched that scene so many times. I went back and transcribed it because I thought I would quote it in the book. And the way she talks about time and the meaning of time is
Time well spent.
time well spent. And it's so beautiful. Like, to me, that's all I want to sort of, at the end of every day in my life, be able to be like, did I have any time well spent today? But also, I think for her, it's probably having quiet, being able to connect with this original task that she at some point loved so much that she decided to devote her whole life to a career of doing that task. And with that comes business headaches and staffing headaches and the toilet leaking and all this kind of stuff. But still, every day, like, you have a little moment of something that means something to you and reconnects you to the physical sense of having a body, in a world with other humans. And like, that's honestly why I stand over the sink stuffing my face with strawberries. Like, I'm just like trying to remember I have a body, like, and trying to remember, like, this is this day I get to have this smell and this taste. It's so special. I really wish I had brought the strawberries in from the car for you. I feel so bad that I left them in my car.
I feel bad too.
Yeah. Do you want to come out with me?
Right after this, that's where we're headed.
Yeah.
Are you at your best when you're cooking?
Sometimes. Often my best moments, often I am. Not
I think
always.
I think it's true for me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, really started cooking 3-4 years ago, and it's the thing I look forward to outside of playing basketball on Sunday and Tuesday nights. It's the thing I look forward to the most, and it's because I am tired of being in my head.
Totally. That's why I think when I'm able to get out of my head and just cook is absolutely when I'm my best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My last question for you. We started this episode talking about and have continued talking about time and how we evaluate it and how we want to live, how we want to spend our days. You said recently on your show, Home Cooking, which was recently on the Time 100 list, for as long as I can remember, I've always been saving up for something.
Mm-hmm.
How old are you? What, 45, 46?
45.
What are we saving up for?
I don't know. I'm trying to save up less now.
Okay.
But I definitely think my whole life I feel like I have had the sense that there's some bank account balance of goodness or achievement or something that I'm trying to reach before then I can be happy or comfortable or feel safe. And I do think, like, watching my dad die really clarified something for me about that, because I think he died in such a sad and pathetic and lonely way. And it really helped me. I was like, wow, when I die, that's not what I want. I want to be able to look back on my life and see that I filled it with so much goodness and friendship and nature and good food and puppy dogs and all the good things. And so, and so much of my dad's life was about sort of machinations and money for what? So I think it really kind of clarified something for me about there's no finish line, or if there is, it's when you die.
Right.
And so then, like, what am I saving up for?
Well, that's my question is, if you're done saving, how do you want to spend?
I'm much better at saying yes to like trips and opportunities and invitations that I would have always just been like, I can't do that. I'm working. I can't do that. I shouldn't spend that money right now. I can't do that for whatever reason. I feel bad or I feel guilty. Now I do that. I get on the plane and I cross the country to go to my friend's child's bris. Or
say yes to experience.
Yeah. I am gonna, I'm gonna go jump in the ocean in Sicily because I have 10 days and I'm so excited. And I told myself when I finished this book, I would go to Italy again. And so I'm just trying to say yes instead of saying maybe one day.
If we're thinking about a prescription from this book, a thing that we should hold on to and maybe put into our lives, can you tell us about what you do every Monday night?
Oh, yeah. Monday night is like probably what I have closest to in my life to religion. It's a dinner that I have with 4 other families. And there are probably about 12 of us at any given time. There's like 3-ish kids. And we just get together and cook food and eat it. And we don't even always cook it. Sometimes we order out. This week it wasn't Monday. It was Sunday. It was the 6-year-old's birthday party. We had an ice cream sundae party because everyone was leaving town. But there's something really magical about the act of we've all committed to this ritual that we do. It's in all of our calendars. We have a group text thread. And, I'm the only one who's a professional food related person, but everyone sort of likes eating or cooking or just hanging out. And so there's kind of different ways in which everyone contributes, and it sort of manages to always come together in some way or another. And it has given us all something to look forward to. It's given us a scaffolding to our week. It's been a really beautiful and unexpected gift in all of our lives. And at first I thought it was something my friends were doing for me because I was so lonely. But when I said that to them, they were like, no, this is for us too. Yeah. And so just watching how we've really sanctified it has been really moving. And that's the group of people to whom I dedicate the book. And it's and I have a lot of anxiety about my tour because it's going to take me away from a lot of Monday dinners, but it'll still be there when I get back.
Yeah. It's great to cook. It's even better to cook for others.
It really for me, that's like when I feel I'm doing something sacred.
Yeah. Not me too. Thank you for sitting for as long as you have and for this new book. I've so enjoyed it.
Thank you for your thoughtful questions, and thank you for such a thoughtful conversation.
Yeah, next time bring the strawberries.
I will. I'm so sorry. I'm going to send you some.
Samin Nosrat, I'll see you soon.
I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Talk Easy. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also leave us a review on Apple, drop us a comment on Spotify, or follow us across social media at Talk Easy Pod. I'll see you back here next Sunday.